People who choose to remain unvaccinated may pose a threat to other vaccinated people around them. That's according to researchers in Canada who found COVID infections substantially increased when the groups mixed, even in cases where vaccination rates were high. Well, getting a third dose of a different COVID-19 vaccine may not be a bad idea. In a study of Chile's national vaccine program, mixing and matching booster shots offered better protection from the severe disease and death.
When the green light is given, assuming it will be, is there enough supply already on hand to start giving these young children their first doses right away? The supply of both the vaccine and vials, materials, etc.
My understanding, Misha, is that there is. I will quadruple check that and make sure for you, but we have been planning for the possibility of approval for vaccines for children under 5 for some time now, and we like to plan ahead.
Over the weekend, WHO released an update about cases of acute hepatitis of unknown origin among children. So far, at least 169 cases of acute hepatitis have been reported from 11 countries in Europe and in the United States in children aged from 1 month to 16 years. 17 children, about 10% of the reported cases, have required liver transplants, and 1 death has been reported. The symptoms include abdominal pain, diarrhea, vomiting, jaundice, severe acute hepatitis, and increased levels of liver enzymes. The viruses that commonly cause acute viral hepatitis have not been detected in any of these cases. Adenovirus has been detected in at least 74 cases, and this and other hypotheses are being explored.
I think there's going to be a lot of breakthroughs on the medical front, particularly around synthetic mRNA. You can basically do anything with synthetic RNA, DNA. It's like a computer program. So, I think with effort, that's not too crazy. You could probably stop aging, reverse it if you want. You can basically do it. You can turn someone into a freaking butterfly if you want with the right DNA sequence. So, caterpillars do it. So.
But your project Neuralink is in a way empowering human intelligence versus artificial intelligence. That's the purpose of it. Is that correct?
Neuralink is the first chip implanted into the human brain that directly links the human brain with the hard drive of a physical computer without a wire, without a cable. So it's like Bluetooth technology. It's beyond Bluetooth, but you can think of it that way. Right. So what he's saying is, if you can't beat the machines, join them. He said, let's interface, let's become one with these machines. Right. So
what do you think about that?
So they have the chips that can be implanted into the brain, and think about what's happening. These are silicon chips that have contact points that are interfacing with human neurons.
Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains, and I can immediately feel, because you all will have implants, and we measure your brain waves, and I can immediately tell you how the people react, or I can feel how the people react to your answers.
am angry. Angry and upset? Angry and upset. And the United States Congress can keep Roe versus Wade the law of the land. They just need to do it.
I've never seen you so angry. You seem to be...
This is what the Republicans have been working toward this day for decades. They have been out there plotting, carefully cultivating these Supreme Court justices so they could have a majority on the bench who would accomplish something that the majority of Americans do not want. 69% of people across this country, red states and blue states, old people and young people, want Roe versus Wade to maintain.
We don't want to dismember children in the womb, ma'am. We are not going to stand for dismembering 3,000 children in the womb every single day. And anybody, I don't care what type of leader you are.
Kim, what's on your radar?
That we have the logistics and delivery to get them to everyone who needs them. The key to be ready for a potential pandemic is to practice. And so this germ team will work with each country to do germ games, drills where you see, are you ready? Could you get the diagnostics out? So we're ready to go when we see the outbreak. Diseases are always going to spread among humans, but they don't have to become pandemics. You can read more about this in my new book, How to Prevent the Next Pandemic.
The Democrats want to keep you up late at night.
This opinion is dark, it is incredibly dangerous, and it is not just about a woman's right to choose. It is about much more than that. And I hope people now are fully aware of what we're up against, because the only answer is at the ballot box to elect people who will stand up for every American's rights. And any American who says, look, I'm not a woman, this doesn't affect me, I'm not black, that doesn't affect me, I'm not gay, that doesn't affect me. Once you allow this kind of extreme power to take hold, you have no idea who they will come for next.
She's arguing the following. The reason that the laws against racially mixed marriages are invalidated is because the Supreme Court invalidated them. The reason the laws prohibiting same-sex marriage have been invalidated is because the Supreme Court invalidated them. So between the lines of what Hillary Clinton just said in that clip, which was from CBS News this morning, is her argument to scare the daylights out of you, that this same court might take away rights that you have. Well, some rights should be taken away, like the right to kill, a baby in the womb.
Really quite ferocious, it's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie, it's how you hide a little lie, it's how you hide a little lie when Rudy Giuliani shared bad intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain. They're laundering disinfo and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet voice.
Oh, we lost Rick. Welcome, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Jonathan, or Fawaz, with his latest CD, I think he's going to come out with another song that maybe goes after what we just saw on the last clip. Do you have one like that rhymes? Are you as good as a rhymer as our the truth minister or whatever?
No, she's the GOAT, man. I can't touch her style.
Rick's in the middle for me. Rick's in the middle of a thunderstorm down in Texas, which is killing sheep right now, or deer or something. I don't know if you guys seen that yet. It's on Ice Age Farmer. The great state of Texas, everybody's bastion for freedom, is killing the food supply. But we got other news to talk about. I think you might have heard once or twice. Anyway, Jonathan, Fawaz, how you guys doing?
Excellent. Well, good. Thank you.
So, what is going on with R.V. Wade? Did you guys hear about this or something? SCOTUS, is this You guys seen anything? You've been around underneath a rock or anything? I got kicked off Twitter for it permanently. Here's a Rachel or Rick Madcow, the 12-year-old boy that's on MSNBC.
Our Democrat of Minnesota joins us now. She sits on the Judiciary Committee. She's absorbing this news just as we all are. Senator Klobuchar, thank you for being with us tonight. Let me just get your reaction to this news again. The headline tonight in Politico: Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights. Draft opinion shows.
Now, everyone's given you the disclaimers, Rachel, and we don't know what the final opinion will be. But I will say that I have predicted this for a long time based on the court arguments and based on the hearings for these justices. I asked Amy Coney Barrett if she thought Roe v. Wade was super precedent. She did not think that it was. And yet I believe the American people are with us. So I'd like to focus a bit here on what's going to happen if they do issue this opinion, when all signs point to that they will. Not just this leak, what they have said in the past. If this is issued over 20 states, there's a trigger where abortion will automatically be banned. So it's no longer going to be a decision between a woman and her doctor. Basically, I guess Ted Cruz has made this decision for people. The second thing that we're going to see happen is that you're going to have individual states considering laws banning it. And meanwhile, in Washington, it's on us now to try to codify Roe v. Wade into law. And as you know, we have two Republican senators who are with us when it comes to choice. But the question is, with the filibuster in place, which I firmly believe we should reverse, could we ever get to 60? So this is what we're dealing with right now. And I cannot overemphasize what a change this is, what a disregard to precedent. If this is true, yes, we can be outraged, but we also have to plan. We are going into election year. We are going into the fall where women's rights are going to be on the ballot. And so if nothing can get done in Washington because of Republican obstructionism, then the American people and women are going to have to vote, and people who believe in choice are going to have to vote like they never voted before, because that's the only way we can change this up, or we're going to have a patchwork of laws across the country.
Hello, I'm back. Thank you for starting, guys. Welcome to News from the Pew. I'm in an area with thunderstorms, so it's good to be back. And there's a lot there from Clobber and Klobuchar, aren't there? I feel bad for her staff. Imagine how many salads were thrown in the last couple days, how many hair combs that she uses to eat her salad she was chucking at people because she's just so upset. Lot to unpack there. First of all, the whole thing about a woman and her doctor, yeah, well, God supersedes all. You can't murder baby. Sorry, you can swipe that one out. Two, that map that they showed was absolutely gorgeous. That beautiful, and I'll give y'all a little beautiful blob of yellow. So beautiful. All of these baby states they're all gonna live. I love it. It's so great. It's a look at a beautiful blob. All of that. If somebody in Louisiana or Texas or Florida would need to murder their child, they'd have to go all the way to Illinois. That's awesome. Because it's that buffer zone, that protection zone for babies. And yeah, they talk about having Republicans. They have two. Guess what? Susan Collins has already come out and said she's not doing it. She's not voting to codify Roe. Good luck getting Joe Manchin in the reddest state in these United States of Amazon in West Virginia to jump on your side. And good luck with Kristen Sinema. It's not going to work because none of these people want to go out on a limb anyway. They don't want to take this vote, even the supposed moderate Democrats, because when Klobuchar says, "Oh, people are of choice," you're going to find out that this idea that you've spun through judicial review, which Roe was, every time something comes up on the ballot to protect babies, it wins. It wins every time. Kind of like when in California, Proposition 8, nobody wants to remember that, where it was defining marriage between man and a woman, won handily in California. So let them bark and let them do all this other kind of stuff, talking about how upset they are and how ridiculous this is. And this idea of that precedent doesn't exist. That's kind of the whole reason the Supreme Court exists, is to review bad cases to see if precedent exists or doesn't exist. So I love them spinning their wheels. I know they started. I wasn't here at the start of the program. It's been a glorious 2 days for me, dunking on people all over Twitter who are just so upset that this is happening, that they don't get to slaughter their unborn child. And they talk about, oh, they're going to take us back to the 50s because, yeah, well, we're in a time right now where we're murdering innocent babies in the womb. So maybe it might be time to go back, because where we are now is not too great. I didn't get a chance to figure out who's going to go top of the order. I think John last time went top of the order. So we'll go. I actually kind of like the way the blocks look. We'll go Steve, John, and Fwaz. So Steve, you're first up. Reactions to the leak and reactions to the fact that this actually might happen, and what does it look like for us coming in the coming weeks? Is this going to be a big? Is this going to be a big deal at election time, as Democrats are trying to make it seem like?
Yeah, the sacrament of the state's abortion, as many people have noticed, it's a. You go back to Biden saying it's a sacred ground, the Capitol, and all this. It's a living sacrament of theirs. Is on the verge of dying out, which Judge Napolitano 3 weeks ago on his YouTube channel, which is under the same name, Judge Napolitano, talked about how the Oklahoma bill was perfectly written in the sense that what was going on. And he predicted that Roe v. Wade would be knocked down because they were going to rule in June on the Mississippi law, and they were going to rule in favor of it. And then Oklahoma's bill kicks in 4 days after. So he was talking about how they knew exactly what they were doing in Oklahoma to ban it completely. After this was dead, it was coming up. So this was obviously leaked to get the base route up because they got nothing else. We're going to get woohoo on Ukraine or woohoo on inflation or $5 gallon gas. They had nothing. So they had to rally up the base somehow. And notice they're talking about thinking locally, acting locally. There's Planned Parenthood on Twitter talking about get out to your local state houses, get out to your local events, get out, because they know it's going back to the states, and they are going to be rabid on acting locally and thinking locally. Are we? But you mentioned about the map, about the people having to travel to like Illinois if they're in Louisiana. Bank of America is out there saying, and along with I think it's Levi Strauss, the gene company.
Uber, Amazon, Bumble, Match, those companies.
They're going to pay people to travel. They're going to pay for their travel expenses.
$4,000. $4,000.
And you see Pocahontas talking about the majority of people don't want to change. Well, if you throw in the majority maybe of all California, New York, all the populous places, yeah, maybe that she's got that right. But Oklahoma, where she's originally from, she's not there anymore. They are overwhelmingly against the Roe keeping going. That's why they got the bill. They took a step more than Texas to end abortion in total in Oklahoma. So states like there, obviously South Carolina, other places that would just Kristi Noem in South Dakota, those people up there are not for it in any way, shape, or another. So when she says, "Oh, the majority of people," she's looking at maybe the 100 people that they called, or maybe just in San Francisco. I don't know, New York City, maybe just in New York City. But the vast majority of people that don't live in Libtardia, basically, they're not for this. But yeah, man, it's been a fun thing. But overlooking it, you look at what they're doing over here. They slide in that Pfizer document the other day, 80,000 pages of how many people miscarriages, little abortions in that way, all the things that came out from the jabs that were very, very, very bad. You're not hearing that on local media. Not a lot of people talking about it. So that was a kind of like a little dump on the side of, hey, this is coming out. Maybe we can leak this. I don't know if that's the thing, but I don't know if that was the actual thing that happened. Just a very big coinky dink. But yeah, man, this is they're all in the rage. I mean, churches are being attacked or threatened. There are some already been in Boulder, Colorado right now. I'll show photos later if you want, defaced and things like that. That these guys are getting uppity.
Yeah, that is true. I talked to a couple friends of mine here in Texas. If you're in one of these cities, Austin, the one in Austin has got to be on high alert. St. Mary's Cathedral. Fort Worth, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston. The Annunciation Church in Houston's got to be on alert. All your city churches, you got to be worried about. I'm pretty sure you guys in Florida and Kentucky and those places aren't as. I'm sure you should be prepared. And by the way, if you're looking for some help with your church planning, defense, I've talked to a couple parishes already. I can fly out, do a Saturday course with you guys, and as the Armed Catholic at thearmedcatholic.com. And we can talk about church defense and introduction to firearms, stand your ground laws, or just legal use of force. So check me out, info at thearmedcatholic.com if you're looking for a place to start. But yeah, they're definitely going to come after him because that's the only way they know. Let's move on to Jonathan. I'll give you those same questions. Reaction to the leak, the response by the left. We'll throw in the church, the threats to the church in there as well. Just what you've been seeing since Monday night, really, up till this point, looking at what we're facing now, the demonic howls of the left, led by, of course, the matriarchy and the women that are just so desperate to kill their children. How's it looking where you guys are?
Well, there's still, I think, nervousness for any big cities in Florida because a lot of the bigger cities have strong satanic elements, even in the Tampa, St. Pete area, Miami, of course, Jacksonville. But overall, it seems like you've got the diabolic element, which is making itself clear by, as you mentioned, the screams, the howls, the simply irrational statements, movements, you name it, sounds. But that's why I'm kind of torn. I like a lot of what Tucker Carlson says and puts out there in the general public to get us thinking. But I wonder if in his excitement to show just how irrational all these arguments are. I mean, you heard Elizabeth Warren, completely irrational, because if, as you guys have already said, if the people are behind it, why would you not want it to be put to a vote among the people in individual states? This has always been some sort of referendum. It's been on the ballot, so the people actually get to vote on it. This is not the House and the Senate voting on it for us. This would be people in the individual states. Even if in several states you've got their state houses and state senates voting on things. But I wonder if he's maybe missing the point that clearly I think he's alluded to this by saying what happened to the whole "My Body, My Choice" 2 years ago in the last 2 years in regard to vaccines and whatnot. So I think we can do well to note that this is as irrational as it gets, and so the thing spewed out of these people's mouths is just going to be pure nastiness, hate, and of course it's going to be self-contradictory. Sin makes you stupid, and it's going to make these people stupid and say dumb things and contradictory things left and right. But I think because it's so diabolical, it's not really worried about trying to sound rational. It just is trying to incite people to do bad things to people and try to intimidate and scare. The only thing I'd say back, Rick, you're the expert in self-defense and all, but I would just say from a psychological standpoint, if you examine and if you follow Father Ripperger, for instance, the demons and those who follow the demons really are wimps when it comes down to it. In the final analysis. So I think we have to have some sort of, we who are for life have to have some sort of rational plan about how to immediately fight back and stand our ground and show that we're not scared, we're not backing down anywhere, because those who are influenced by the devil, again, are wimps, and they don't have any sort of true courage. They may have some foolhardiness to kind of rush headlong into certain things, but 9 times out of 10, they are going to immediately back down when they see resistance. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Make my body, my choice lefty again, huh? All of a sudden, my body, my choice is back, baby. Unless you want to not take a jab. Fawaz, let me play a couple videos for you, and then I think the last one is right up your alley.
Libs of TikTok, which they've been trying to pull off the internet because they show you what's actually happening out there, just posted this video of abortion enthusiasts calling for violence in the wake of the draft opinion. Watch this.
If they actually do this, yeah, that would be the time where rioting would be okay. I got the pitchforks, you get the gas and the torches.
There's only one solution to this, to all of this, because it's all interconnected. It starts with V, ends with E, and it's not vote.
Do you ever wake up in the morning and think you just want to burn it all to the ground? And what I mean by burning it all to the ground is those old white men and the women who support them who want to tell me what to do with my body.
If Roe versus Wade gets overturned, there will be mayhem in these streets.
Really what is going on is that they feel like two of their main pillars, the sexualization of children, particularly, and the ability to kill children in the womb are being threatened.
Do you think it's going to lead us to the kind of conflict we saw with the first abolitionist movement?
I think that very well could be the case. And part of it is to consider this news. And again, obviously, we're assuming that this draft will end up being the final and that Roe will actually be overturned. But this news comes right on the heels of the left's last freakout, which was feeling as if they were losing the ability to teach your children about sexuality and gender identity from the ages of 5 to 8 years old, right? So really what is going on is that they feel like two of their main pillars, the sexualization of children, particularly, and the ability to kill children in the womb are being threatened. And for them, that is the type of thing where you'll see more and more prominent left-leaning journalists start to wonder aloud whether the blue states should secede from the red states.
For Waz, go for it. Drop it like it's hot.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You guys were absolutely right. Everything that you said, I agree with. If I may add, just briefly, he's absolutely right. The problem with the left is they tried to infiltrate the legislature system. They couldn't. Rush Limbaugh said this, and what he said was they weren't able to pass these through law. So what they did is they infiltrated the court system, and for the longest time they were able to pass some of these, Obamacare and some of these laws, the same-sex union, whatever they want to call it, until, and we give him his fair criticism here on News from the Pew, until, and I got to give him his credit here, Trump did a great job. He came in here, restructured the courts. He actually put more judges into the system than the last, I think, his predecessors combined. So when Trump came in, put those in, the left started to lose the core system. So what they did is they went ahead and went towards the corporation route. So if the courts were going to approve something or strike down a legislation that they don't like, they were going to go towards corporation. And they succeeded for a little bit until our man DeSantis went toe-to-toe with Disney. And when they did, Disney ended up losing a lot of value and share. I think it's about 40 billion, I believe, as of yesterday. And CNN, believe it or not, went onto the corporations, looked for some type of comment about what happened with the leak, and they stayed silent because they knew we're not picking any more cultural wars to fight because we're going to lose our corporation. We're going to lose our customers. So DeSantis struck down the corporations. Trump struck down the course that they were really relying on heavily. And here they are now stuck behind. They're in a corner, and all they know how to do now is to burn down cities and to fight because they're vile, and that's what cowards do. So the left is losing the culture war, but they are gaining strength elsewhere. The leak, like Steve, what you said was kind of brilliant. It's not a coinkydink. I don't think that the leak came in the same day that Pfizer had their report. And I think what we saw here is they're really trying to keep this at a hush hush. And my last thing here is I think there's a lot to do with the midterms. The Democrats knew they were going to be in the worst red tsunami they've ever seen. They need the votes. They need the majority in there in order for them to pack the course, in order for them to get rid of the filibuster and what they got to do, in order to push their agenda by all means necessary. And I think this is where they really want to put the fight and galvanize their base, get everybody back, make everyone seem like we're January 6th folks again. We're just a bunch of crazy Trump supporters, all because we want to reserve the right for you to not slaughter your own child. So look for the midterm talk to come in to galvanize their base. They're going to say, let's get back into, let's vote. Let's keep the majority. I don't think it's going to work. I think they've screwed up the country so bad. I think normal folks who have some common sense left have been going a little bit more right, or staying where they're at because the left has gone further left. They're in trouble, but we also have to, we can't stop the fight. Think locally, act locally, like you said, Steve. I agree with you. But it was great to see Trump do that. I'll give him his credit there, even though he does deserve some criticism from some of the things that he did. So the one way that we can fight this is continue to put common sense people who have common sense into the Senate, the House, and also more importantly, your sheriff, your mayor, your city council. Get common sense people that you can have, because Kentucky is one of the trigger states here. That as soon as Roe v. Wade gets overturned, it's automatically Kentucky is going to have no abortions whatsoever. There's going to be restrictions. So this is good news. We just got to keep the fight and keep the pressure.
Keep pounding, baby.
Never Trumpers, everybody taking credit. We finally did it. We didn't do it. The people who held their nose and voted for Donald Trump, even though they didn't want to, they did it.
You want to make sure that Donald Trump gets some credit here for his Supreme Court picks, and perhaps this will be on his legacy that he saved more lives than any other president.
Here's the thing. I was just thinking yesterday about all the people I follow on Twitter, all of the Never Trumpers that were celebrating like there's no tomorrow. And these people did not contribute to this moment at all. Okay, I've told you, I think, on the air, in the primary, if Ron DeSantis runs, will be voting for Ron DeSantis. However, I voted for Donald Trump twice, and if he is the option in the general election in 2024, I will vote for him again with joy. Because moments like this were possible. There's actually a clip in the debate with Hillary where Chris Wallace asked if he wants Roe v. Wade to be overturned. And he said, I'm just telling you, I'm putting pro-life justices on the court, 2, maybe 3 of them. And I'm just telling you, it's going to get overturned when that happens. He actually predicted this moment in what was probably the second debate in 2016. So here's the thing. People couldn't get past his character flaws. They couldn't get past his ego, his propensity to fight with the media every chance he had. But with Donald Trump winning the election in 2016, that enabled this very moment to happen. Remember, Justice Scalia had already passed away. And so there was a vacant seat that Hillary would have gotten to fill with a liberal. The court was 5-4 with Roberts as the swing vote at that time, who, remember, right now, if this leak is true, and it is based on Roberts himself, he's voting the other direction. Okay. And so Scalia would have been his replacement would have been a liberal vote. And then you never have Anthony Kennedy step down. Remember, Kennedy in 1992 was a part of the Casey case and upheld Roe and decided not to overturn it. Right. And then the last one would be Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This is the Amy Coney Barrett vote to overturn. That would have been a liberal. This vote, if Hillary Clinton wins the 2016 election, is 7-2 the wrong direction.
Yeah. First of all, I'm from the future, and I only have so much time before they kick me off again. So I got to get this stuff in quick.
You need Elon to get you some
I
internet.
need Elon, put the chip in my head so I can get the Starlink, man. This is ridiculous. I can't get bumped off too many times from moves on the pew. But hey, Steve, I know that might hurt you the most because you were very fond of calling out Trump for his his proclivities, and I can't speak because I'm an idiot.
Well,
But-
like Fawaz said, yeah, well, all right, we'll hold you, no, not hold my nose, but yeah, you got to give him credit where credit is due. He did this part for the SCOTUS.
He is the most pro-life president ever. And the point, nobody wants to talk about this. Y'all got to give Mitchie credit too. Mitchie McConnell. You may not like the turtle, but the turtle kept Merrick Garland off the board for that extended period of time instead of just doing what they usually do, which is just let the SCOTUS guy through. Doesn't matter. Look like they did with KBJ. No matter what, she's like, I love porn, I love pedos and all that stuff. And they're like, cool, come on in. You get to be a Supreme Court justice now. Mitch McConnell kept him off the board for that election season. And it's right that imagine if Hillary got in there, we would be in a much worse state than we would be now. But
we're not having this conversation.
Well, probably all of us are in internment camps at this point. If Hillary gets in,
That's delayed a couple of years, man. That's
we just have to wait. But we extended it for a couple of years. But it's pretty insane to see that the justices and how important it was to repeal all that kind of stuff. And yeah, elections, as Barack Obama says, elections have consequences. We see that now with Joe, but we definitely see this happening with the people that Trump put in. And once again, I think it's more of a case to keep DeSantis in Florida and let Trump run again in 2024. Let him run again in 2020. Ron DeSantis, you're young. Don't worry about it. You can run again. You should definitely let Trump run again and just do all of this stuff that he's doing. But this idea is pretty good in that regard. And so, Steve, you can jump in first, bud. You know, you already said it, but
well, at that point, just like Fawaz was talking about with the elections in the local, they have, I think it was Planned Parenthood put a tweet out about making sure your state, your school boards, all the way up to your state house are pro-deathers. I mean, how many people go, I wonder if my school board member is, for killing babies. They're
for grooming your kids, so they might as well.
Definitely. But again, that goes back to thinking locally. They are thinking, they know that this is all going back to the states, aka federalism. You don't want a nationalist thing. If you wonder what happened in 1860s, it was a centralized, nationalized attempt right there. Instead of federalism, which the nationalism idea brings in violence. The federalism, you just, all right, well, I'm just going to move. I move from this state to this state. I move from this state to this state. If you're in California and you don't like how bad California is, California, get out. If you're in New York, get out. If you're pro-abort, it's in Mississippi or Oklahoma. That I can't kill I don't have any kids, but I can't kill any kids. I don't have it. Ain't nobody gonna do the reproductive act with me anyways. But I just want to kill kids. Go somewhere else. But our side. I know there's priests in those areas like in Sacramento or, New York or things like that. That's not just saying that we just got to capitulate and just give up on those areas. Sure. All right. If you're in a city that's, if you can't fight, you don't want to fight, move. But if you can't fight, go change that state. We just can't just give up on things. Politically, all right, federalism, that's going to work. We don't have another option right there on this. You're president of your state. The governor of your state's your president. You only see two bishops out there talking about this right now, Strickland and Corleone. Where's the rest of them? Rhode Island came out last night saying they're codifying Roe v. Wade. Bishop Tobin says he's one of the biggest pro-life bishops out there. I ain't seen a peep. And that's a small state. So that's some place you can easily switch if you get your mind right, focus, and do something about it. What are we doing about it? Right now, not a peep. What about those states up there? What priests, bishops? This is one of those things. All right, time for martyrdom, maybe. Get out. These guys are getting uppity about it. You're seeing they're going after churches. They already said they were going to do something this weekend. In Boulder, Colorado, they've already defaced a few churches there. There's probably more. Just ain't been that hadn't been talked about yet. What are we doing? Are we sitting back doing nothing? We going to tweet about? Going to put a good tweet out, or we going to take some action? And I'm saying get uppity, but you better protect that house, as the Under Armour motto is, and you better start thinking, because these guys are thinking they're going to get riled up to run for office. What are we? Imagine, like I talked about on another show, if a bunch of us, 2,000 maybe, all over the union. If you have a voting in France or something like that too, yeah, same there. What if we had a bunch of us like-minded getting into offices on every level? Do you think that would have changed the trajectory or the political landscape? I would say so, but we got to do something about it. There's a priest that talked about it. I haven't unlocked the sermon yet. He's in Ireland because Ireland has a vote on this coming up too. And he goes, it's not just enough just to pray about it. That's great if you're on your knees praying about it, but you got to do something about it too. And that's the problem. We just say, oh, we'll pray about it. Well, when does that just become superstition in a sense? And you're not doing anything about it. You got to pray. You got to do both. It's a both and religion. You got to pray and you got to go do something about it as well. And we lost Rick. So, Jonathan, go ahead and piggyback off that if you want. You're on mute.
There we go. Sorry about that. Right along with what you said there, we've got to be going out there and doing something locally. And especially those of us who live in bigger cities, you know, you're going to catch people's eye if you're out there praying the rosary in front of an abortion clinic. And I mean, I know our great state of Florida, there's a really attractive license plate design that's pro-life. The color is immediately recognizable to anyone who has one as well, the nice yellow color. And I'm sure they're going to be the ones that people are going to aim at for vandalism in the bigger cities in Florida too, sadly. But you know, at least they'll be showing who they are everywhere they go. I mean, it may seem like a small thing, you know, something on your license plate or even a bumper sticker or something like that. But you know, I don't know. You're stuck on the road so much, and it is a manner of preaching sorts. So yeah, I just say be out there, be praying, and be out there with your kids, obviously, in such a way that you can protect them quickly and easily, right? Because these things, you know, the horrible things do come up like that. But yeah, we've got to be at least out there in that way. I would just add though that the only way that the folks who are truly diabolically possessed over abortion are going to be converted is through some spiritual warfare. So we can't forget that part of it. We've got to do something maybe politically and in our community, but we have to be involved in the spiritual warfare aspect of it, or these people aren't going to be converted. They're either going to harm themselves and or other people simultaneously, and then be kind of a, you know, lost to us in that sense, or they're going to be converted. And we've got to be, I think, following the game plan that Our Lady of Fatima gave to us, the saints have given to us as far as spiritual warfare in that regard. Try to win their souls over.
Spray painting abortion rights slogans on the doors of the sanctuary might be fallout from a draft opinion by the U.S. Supreme Court leaked earlier this week. It indicated support among the justices for overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade case that legalized abortion nationwide. CBS 4's Dylan Thomas is at that church right now. Dylan?
Jim, this is the 30th time in the past 2 years that a metro area church from the Catholic Archdiocese has been targeted by
That's
vandals.
the TLM. What's one of the TLM parishes in Boulder?
This one behind me has been struck by vandals as well. The Archdiocese says given their anti-abortion stance, they weren't surprised that vandals would target one of their properties. They just weren't sure when and where it would happen.
I've been in that one. It's a beautiful little church.
A parish community showed up for their morning mass and to witness, you know, their parish had been targeted last night. I hate to say it, was not surprised to learn about this.
For the second time in a year, cleaning crews at Sacred Heart of Mary Church in Boulder are having to clean up after vandals targeted their parish with political messages. Profanity mixed with sentiments of abortion rights and calls for universal health care were painted on the property.
All we can do is pray for it.
Windows were smashed and sculptures tagged.
It's disheartening to see. Now, we certainly understand that this is a very emotional topic, but to see people continue to kind of lash out like this, especially targeted at our places of worship, it's troubling.
Archdiocese spokesperson Mark Haas said the church welcomes those who disagree to have a civil conversation.
I feel like what the church believes is often mischaracterized by the other side, and talking to people that, hold these beliefs might, at least allow people to learn, why we believe this, why we're so passionate about it. And there are so many stories there of the apostles being persecuted for what they believe, and they're actually joyful about it. They're very convicted that it's not going to stop them. So we can say the same for our parishes, that we're very strong in what we believe, and certainly not going to be intimidated by this.
So it will cost several $1,000s to make the repairs here at the church. And on top of that, adding a security system will be costly as well, with more cameras. The church says that's all money they plan to spend on.
Yeah, Jonathan, you been to that parish?
Yeah, in fact, the gentleman there who was scrubbing the door leads the Scola there for the Latin Mass. His dad leads the altar boys as well. It's a great community there, and the thing is, the reason clearly why they targeted that church is that church is unique. I think in the whole U.S. they have a dedicated cemetery for those who have been aborted. That is, they receive the mortal remains of aborted children and they bury them in a cemetery there. They have special masses and prayers throughout the year right there on those grounds. And it's a very beautiful church inside, but I just say that the outside part, the dedicated cemetery at Sacred Heart of Mary, I know it's kind of a different name for most of us to get used to. Sacred Heart of Mary in Boulder is it's something else. It's spectacular. And yeah, and yes, they've had it 2 times in the last year that they've been vandalized, but it's been happening there ever since that vandalism, ever since they had this dedicated cemetery on a pretty regular basis, at least every few years or so. So, they're doing something great, and they are, as was mentioned in that video, which is kind of nice, they are seeing the same sort of persecution that the apostles got as well. So, when you're doing something right, man.
What video are we talking about, guys? What are we talking about? I would love to know what.
Rick got kicked out in the middle of the video, I guess. Now, there was a Sacred Heart of Mary in Boulder, Colorado last night, got vandalized and windows broken, things like that. So that was after me yelling about the people we need to start getting up, because martyrdom may be coming to you priests and bishops in the middle of the Tardia. These guys are getting violent and mad. They're not joking around.
Oh, no, they won't. This is like you started off with, this is the sacrament. This is the Holy Sacrament. If you think about it, abortion is the plank on which the rest of the liberal agenda rests on. And it's all based on the 14th Amendment and that Roe and then Casey decision. Obergefell, the sodomy laws, even the attitude, the do as thou will lifestyle is all predicated and all based on the reasoning that abortion was decided on with Roe and then Casey. So if they pull this plank and let's all keep praying, doing rosaries, fasting, whatever we need to, and this thing gets stamped, certified, and overturned, and before Google or whoever kicks me out again, let me say it, they need to certify this result. They should not wait. The longer, some of you sports fans will get the reference. I don't like 50-50 balls. Right now, with the leak happening, this is a 50-50 ball. And the longer it doesn't get certified and filed, the longer it makes me nervous that something's going to happen on the back end where this thing gets reversed or somebody changes their minds. I had a lawyer from Ave Maria University on with me on Tuesday, Brian Skarnecki, and he said this thing was talked about in December. It's May. This has already been done. I don't know why they would change their mind at this point. This thing's already been settled. They wrote the opinion. It's done. So he said that in his opinion, they should just come out and say since this has been leaked, kind of like when a movie trailer leaks, they're like, all right, well, here's the real one since the other one got leaked. They just need to certify this result, file it, and call it a day. The fact that they're waiting and John Roberts is hemming and hawing and all this, I don't like that at all.
They want blood. It's like the libido dominandi that St. Augustine talks about. The unregulated passions lead to violence, and you're seeing the violence.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. The lower faculties. These people have been taught for generations to depend on and be governed by their lower faculties. I'll shut up. I'll probably get kicked out again. Flaz, what do you think?
Brilliant. Especially what you said, Jonathan, about the demonic attacks and things. Folks that are doing this don't have any rational thought, that you can't really reason with them anymore, unfortunately. So I would say to the men in your parishes across this country and across the world, find creative ways. And I think Rick, you'd probably have better ideas than I would. Find creative ways to try to protect without violence, because these are Marxists and they're experts in creating conflict and then playing the victim. And even though you have evidence or videos that they were the ones that were the aggressors, number one, the news is going to edit that out to make you look like the bad guy, and Twitter will take out, or social media will take out the unedited version because they're not on our side. So we have to be smart and not get caught up in this, because we're going to be, we're going to be, people are going to say you're just like the January 6th folks, which we're not.
So I actually had somebody reach out to me today to talk about this, and my first recommendation was this: you're going to have to organize probably between 10 to 15 men at your parish, and you're going to have to alternate standing, essentially taking watch, not with guns or anything, but just forming a line or a deterrent to the doors at every mass this weekend. Because and just don't let them in. Just form a wall, form a barrier, and at every entrance, make sure you go to your mass, and that's why you have to have enough guys to rotate this through. Because what they're also looking for is they're just like water. They're going to go to the path of least resistance. So if they see 10 men standing out in front of each door, or 5, or however many you can muster, any bit of deterrence would be better than nothing. I mean, you can't stop them from standing on the other side of the street and howling, or even going in your parking lot and howling. That's fine. There's nothing you can do about that. But you can definitely stand there. We saw examples of this in South America. I don't know if you guys ever remember that. There was actually examples in South America. Oh, yeah, there we go. I think I need
to you shall receive, Rick.
yeah. Keep my internet up.
There's no audio on
but
it.
As you see there, the Marxists were coming and they were vandalizing. It's same stuff that we're looking at now. And I actually made the comment at the time, get ready, this is coming.
Spray paint. And they are openly calling for basically the same now. I mean, gentlemen.
What you just saw was actual footage of the days of Noah.
Yeah, and if they say it's worse now, could you imagine then? One thing they were talking about is obviously brought up federalism a minute ago, is everyone that on the left is now bringing secession back. They want to break this thing up. They want to tell us to go live our way. Again, it goes back to, that's great. I'd be cool with that. Go back to South Carolina, maybe fix North Carolina will be fixed in a year or two, because the lieutenant governor is pretty much on Public Enemy's #1 list. I don't know if you've seen Mark Richardson before, the big hefty black man. He's been calling out the woke crowd left and right, and I can't see him not losing when he runs for governor next. So that will be flipped here. But the rest of the Northeast and like the West Coast, what are you going to do in Washington, Oregon, California if you live there? And for Waz, you're in a safe spot of Kentucky. Jonathan, you're in Florida. I mean, the South is going to be fine. What's some advice you give somebody that's in maybe a New York or a Jersey or a Pennsylvania or Washington State?
Good question. No, I mean, it is interesting though that every once in a while they'll be talking about saying our same thing that we were saying a few months ago, as you mentioned though, about talking about secession though. But my thought is still you can't really take them at their word now. These are the demons speaking really through them. They've made themselves they've handed themselves over almost entirely to Satan in that regard. So I in a certain sense I don't take them seriously when they say crazy things like that. Maybe it happens. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's not something that's actually in their playbook, but yeah, I guess the long games when we got to play, which is you got to try to convert as many of these people as will, and then see where the chips are going to fall when they start trying to persecute us. That's kind of my simple response to it.
That's what I keep telling you, that you got to break this up or you got to convert it. So for us, you saw what those men did. Outside of that being Noah's time, I mean, virtue right there is needed. How do people build that up so that when that comes, they're not doing what Peter says, hey, yeah, I can do this. And then they get there and they fold like Peter did to a little girl out in the street. How do you build that up so that when that happens, you can stand up to it?
Well, first and foremost, it's going to have to be prayer, because you have to have that grace in order, because when it comes to martyrdom, you have to have the grace of fortitude that God has given you. So there's going to be some intense prayer and, of course, fasting, so you can have the discipline to do so, but also practicing that virtue with your wife if you're married, and and pass it on to your children. And nothing's going to hold virtue on greater for you than to pass it on to your children, because you're actively doing it, and then you see not only the graces, but the importance of doing it, because you want your children to be as virtuous as possible. And then having the prudence, not only that, if you can't get out of New York or California, I had a friend of mine who was in San Diego, and during COVID, all that stuff was going on. He went to Riverside, which is a different county, and they were a little bit more lax because it was more of a Republican local area. So they were more lax on the masks, things like that. So he found a little area within the state of California to where he was a little bit more safe, I guess you would say. So try and find, if you can't leave the state, try to find little pockets to where the local government, the mayor or the city council are a little bit more, I guess you could say they have more common sense.
Jonathan, can you expound on the libido dominandi I brought up a minute ago with Augustine? And was it in City of God that he brings that up?
Yep. Indeed it was. And yeah, he mentions it early on, but I was just reading the last two books, actually just recently, of on the City of God, and it comes up again there because well, effectively, like it's a battle that all of us fight throughout our entire lives. I mean, Fawaz has got great stuff on this to say, I'm sure. But he just says it's a perpetual battle for us, and so I mean, I'm grossly simplifying here, but that it's supposed to help us feel some sort of compassion for the people that are still in the city of man, so to speak, because they haven't been baptized or aren't living in a state of grace. Because we know that could just, I mean, kind of to borrow the St. Francis quote, just as easily, there goes, Brother Jonathan, there goes Brother Fawaz, Brother Steve there. And so it helps us to sympathize with the weaknesses that they've given into, the various vices and whatnot, and they've gotten themselves into it so deeply that it's hard to get out. And then it's a reminder to us to give fewer offenses. So, I mean, it almost sounds ridiculous to even say something like this, but I think it's part of the plan, is that we have to be holier than ever right now, so that nothing, as far as within us lies, could ever be used against us by the other side to say, see, you don't want to be a Catholic because look what he did or said, look what she did or said, outside of the whole abortion debate, or outside of whatever the current thing may be. So yeah, St. Augustine just says you've got that libido dominandi, which is going to plague us as well our entire lives. So let that lead you to sympathy for your brother or sister who's stuck in this mire of sin, and then let it encourage you to not give in at any point, even to a venial sin, so that, or what he would effectively call a non-lethal sin, because that might just be a potential stumbling block for someone, and then that keeps them from converting. You don't want that on you. So yeah, I mean, that may have not have been exactly where you wanted me to go. I just thought that's what I just read recently on the City of God, and it's got me thinking about how this has got to be a kind of a gut check for me as well. Like, what can I do to be a better Catholic, so that I'm as effective as possible to bring people back home.
Steve, I got a question for you, if you don't mind.
Go for
it. So, on the practical sense, Jonathan was talking about the spiritual sense, which is probably the most important thing you can do: prayer, holiness, building virtue, and eradicating vice, for the sake of others to see you as a true Catholic. That's why Our Lady is the highest, because her life was so perfect. That's what we attained to be, and also an imitation of Christ. But on the practical sense, for somebody who's out there who got inspired of what you said and say, you know what, I'm going to put my hat in the race. I want to run for office. Somebody who's done it before. Can you walk them through just briefly of what to do to get started?
I'm still trying to come up with this group that I talked about a year ago, and a buddy of mine here, funny name is Mike, on the feast of Pope Pius V's feast day, which his original name was, or his born name was Michael. There's a Michael here that is big into politics and very smooth in his talking. He used to work in D.C., and I asked him, let's put together some kind of Catholic group on my website that people can click. And what we want to do is kind of like in the sense of Hamish Fraser, who talked about making cells everywhere, and this is what the communists would do. So make a hub where you can get all the info about how to do things. And one of the books that I was pushing to get reprinted, Sophia came out with, is called The Christian Principle by Mother Consilia O'Brien. I would say step one, get that book, because she breaks down in a very Thomistic way. You can't swing a dead cat and not hit St. Thomas in that book. She quotes him almost every page on what the state is, what is government, what is a right, what is virtue. She breaks down everything, and then at the end has questions that brings up in the Summa exactly where everything is. So I would say, first off, you got to educate yourself so you can know what the basics are, what the 101 is on that level. And then figure out what you want to do. Obviously pray about it, maybe ask your spiritual director about the idea of it. Do you want, obviously not shoot for the moon. Hey, I'm going to run for U.S. District 6. No. Shoot for something local, like a school. If you're passionate about school board or your city or your county, things like that, get your foot wet. I would say, start as low as you can, but not too low that you're a dog catcher. You're not having any kind of help in this. But then you could just, and it's cheap for a county or a city or a school, and a school board for a lot. But county and city might cost like $100 or something to run. I think when I ran in 2010, it was I think the filing fee was like $200 or something like that, maybe $150, and that was for a state representative seat. So it's not going to break you. And then, you can do all you want. You can make those little signs. It's basically door to door. Do what AOC did. You tell your friends. I'm sure people at your parish would be in the city or the district. You would be running it. So you get the people on board with you. You tell you promote yourself. That's one thing we try to suck at doing. And I talked about that with Ryan a lot when we became friends, is why are you helping me out? I go, I know for being in our position, how it is that you have good content and nobody helps you out and nobody promotes you. We could put some good stuff out there, but we forget how to market ourselves or promote ourselves in any way, shape, or another. So yeah, figure out where you're going to go for, learn about what you're running for, and then tell people that you're actually doing it. Get people on your side. just by doing, most people will win most people today win unabated. No one runs for local government seats. Somebody would be like, when I was in a state 75, the guy was in there for multiple terms. No one ever ran against him. So the high chance that if you run, you got a good shot of winning. Just have that mind ready for it. Hey, don't be like, oh no, I won, but do it and be determined about it, and then put it into action. Obviously, pray to it. Pray to saints that were in government, like Thomas More, for example, or King St. Louis, or King St. Stephen, or today the murder of was it today? In 2 days is St. Stanislaus, the king. He was St. Thomas Canterbury before Thomas told the king that he was wrong, was going to execute the king. The king killed him, and then he ended up converting down the road. So people like that, set yourself for example. Be set up to know your mind that you're going to be attacked. I was going to bring that up to you guys in a minute, saying, normal Catholics going out to a restaurant, not in the not too distant future, especially if this thing gets, kicked out, you're going to be a target if you do the sign of a cross at a table. People might be coming up to you afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because there are no boundaries. There are no boundaries anymore. So you have to be ready for it at all times, spiritually ready, physically ready. And it's something that a lot of people they're not ready for on both sides, which is why you had your pro-life groups, which is, people were pro-life or whatever, and they found a lot of comfort in voting for those federal officials because they're like, oh, well, they'll do it. And everybody kind of thought, nothing's going to happen because SCOTUS is this and that. But now that now that the bus has stopped on a dime and everybody's kind of rocked back and forth, are you physically ready? Are you spiritually ready? Before I got kicked out for the 15th time, I was going to say after that video, are you ready to stand at that church with your brother and not only lock arms with him? Did you see in that video the support that they were giving each other, covering each other's eyes, lifting them up? That's something trads and Catholics need to start doing, is we need to start closing our network. We need to really start closing ranks, if you want to say, strengthening the bonds that we have. And unfortunately, our infighting over the past couple of years, especially under the papacy of Pope Francis, has not left us in a strong position to react to this event, because we should be able to come out with a unified front, but we're still in such a way that we're disjointed, that we're kind of trying to cobble these alliances together on the fly. And that's fine. That's what we got to do. We're built for battle. We'll get it done. Just understand that we need to become more affiliated, more closely relying on Catholics, our Catholic brothers, as we go forward.
I think we lost Rick. The Matrix just got Rick again. No, that was solid. Yes, because, hey, Jonathan, what do you think about down the road? You're at a restaurant or something, people come up to you.
Well, that's why even if we're in a restaurant, my children and I, they know how to sing the prayers in Latin and Slavonic, and so we try to be respectful. We're not like bursting out so that we're dominating the whole restaurant. Yeah, we lean in together and we do the Benedicite, and we, as the Benedictines do it. And I don't know. The kids are good about not looking around. So I don't know how many people catch sight of it or notice it. But we're in a Mexican restaurant the other day that was really good and really decently priced, and we're in there, and we're praying together, and then one of the ladies comes up after and says, you guys must be in Spanish, and says, you guys must be Catholic. And, yeah, and she says, well, where do you go to mass? Because she says she's Catholic, and we said, well, it's just right down the road, like a mile and a half from the Latin Mass parish there. I don't know. Maybe she came to this has been just a day after Easter or so. So maybe she's been to mass since then. I wish I had a card or something to be able to follow up with her, but it made a difference. So yeah, but at the same time, not every place is going to be a Mexican restaurant where you can count on at least maybe a few Catholics being around. So yeah,
we got to make sure we're Jewish.
Yeah.
We gotta ask if we were Jewish. Are you Jewish? It's like, that was the first. I wasn't expecting that one. Enoch, what's a virtue of the week people should work on?
Virtue of the week. So the vice that I would actually, you know what, I'm going to say humility, only because the vice that I want is the vice of, and the reason I say that is because that is the vice of persisting in error even when you've been corrected. And I think a lot of times that's what the left does, because they're so attached to the lower faculties. Even though you can reason with them and show them that they're in error, they'll still persist in their error, which is unfortunate because that shows there's a lot of pride there. So I would say
We're having a great time with the internet today.
Yeah.
Jonathan, you got a
there's an enemy.
Oh, there he is.
What's up?
Rewind about 45 seconds. You said humility and you died.
Okay. Yes. What I'm saying. Yes, humility, because I was saying that the vice of pertinacity is the vice that I think the with, which is the vice of persisting in your error even after you've been corrected, which is the vice of pride. And I would say having the humility to kind of put down your pride about these little infighting among the trads, and let's get together, mainly because we have an enemy out there that is determined to see us all as an enemy. And if we all lock hands together and lock arms together and have a social media presence and more of a parish to parish presence, and just say, listen, this is the fight that we need to fight right now, because the common enemy is the left. It is the Marxists. It is the communists. It's not, how trad you are, or versus how Novus Ordo you are. That can come later. Let's take care of this before we get back to that fight. Let's just, I would say, have the humility to do that.
You're thinking like Hunger Games. Remember who the enemy is, and what is that line from Scripture, Jonathan? They will know by their fruit, about how much they love each other. We need to improve on that a little bit.
Well, that was the early Christians. That's how I said that you would know the early Christians, was by how much they loved one another. And that's actually kind of a early patristic reference. But man, I just want to sit in awe of what Fawaz just said, because that was awesome. That was beautiful. The only thing I would add is maybe a twin virtue with what Fawaz said, because it was just awesome, and I'm just still enjoying it, soaking it up. Is as he was talking about how each person was covering the eyes of his neighbor, there is the virtue of studiosity or studiousness. I don't know. It's the contrary in St. Thomas's evaluation of vices and virtues to curiosity. So you don't want to look on certain things. And so I would piggyback on what Fawaz just said and say that for the goofy little things that aren't of supreme importance right now, we let it to the side, and don't follow rabbit holes that are just not worth it right now. We've got some opportunities that maybe will not represent themselves. Let's take advantage of them. Let's pursue them. Let's win these particular battles right now. And like Fawaz said, when it gets down to it, then we can maybe talk about some of the other things that might have their place at another time. But yeah, let's be studious. Let's focus on getting to the truth of these very important things in front of us right now, and let's push hard. And as even Biden said, let's keep beating at it, even if it's women's violence. Let's keep beating at it until we get to the bottom of it, until we get to the truth, of the most important matters. Yeah.
I think my virtue of the week is going to be patience.
Well, I don't understand why.
It's either virtue of the week is either patience or Starlink. I'm still debating between the two of them. I don't know whichever.
Did you pay your bill this month?
I did, but it's stupid weather, man. Of course I paid my bill. I make that sweet radio money. What are you talking about?
It's affecting Fawaz too. He's getting all
yeah. Well, Fawaz is in the middle. Fawaz is in Kentucky, so that's fine. We get that. But I mean, I wish. Apparently, Floz just opened the heavens and said the greatest thing ever. And of course, I missed it because my I'll have to catch it on the replay. And so that's great. Have we done our Saints or any of that kind of stuff? I have to ask this question because I literally am going to get bumped in 30 seconds. So I had to
No,
make
we
sure.
haven't. Go for it.
I don't know. You three. Steve, go first. You're Saint.
I wasn't planning on. I'll go. I wasn't ready.
That's why you
what
threw
my
it back
pants
to
were.
me. Hot potato to you, buddy. Let's go.
What's the governor of Oklahoma? I forget his name.
Stillwater?
Phil? Is it Phil? Bill?
I'm looking it up. Hold
He
on.
just came out signing a new bill saying he wants to be the most pro-life state in the union.
Or Stitt. Kevin Stitt.
Yeah, he signed it a couple days ago, and it's again, they're playing the cards right after the Mississippi ruling, which is pretty much the draft that you saw. But a lot of people, if you watch on CNNBC and MSNBC and all that, OMSNBC, nobody read that document, and doesn't say what all those guys are saying. Obviously, it kicks it back to the states where you can just easily, as I've mentioned many times, I got an article for 2 years ago that was my first blog write-up, and Ron Paul's talked about as many times. You get it to the states, and you'll be able to kill this thing. So, and then you can focus on gay so-called marriage. You can get rid of contraception again. Again, if we get our people involved, think about it. If we get our people involved, you can kill at the state level contraception,
That's
gay
why
marriage.
they need everything at the federal level. That's why they need it there.
Yeah, everyone's focused on DC. Keep you focused on. You see you see all of us. We all think about that. We turn on Fox. It's all about DC. You think about running for office. All you think is DC. You don't think local. You focus on that, you can kill all this stuff. And my cry room, I know who Faraz is already going to go with.
You can't go with Joe.
I'll go with Gruesome Newsom, who came out. There was a video of him talking about how women. He brought up the women thing that men can't have babies. And you're going, well,
according to you, they can, sucker.
But what's a woman? You got this guy who's saying there's all kinds of different genders. You got my body, my choice. Unless you get the jab, then it's not your body, my choice. It's their body, their choice. It's kind of been comical seeing that these guys just screw themselves in like a pretzel over their own logic, which is obviously not logic at all, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. All right, John, what do you got for us as far as Saint and Cry Room?
Well, for Cry Room, with my much greater percentage of Native American Indian, I'm just going to put that horrid excuse for an Indian, Elizabeth Warren, in there after her rant that we saw earlier on. And yeah, well, for a Saint, I'm going to probably, I don't know. Why not my my beloved governor here in Florida, who keeps doing good little things here and there. I mean, I follow his activities, and he's still making his way around the state, doing good things, encouraging local initiatives. He usually eats at a local diner and cafe, you know, with his family. He takes his family with him on a lot of these trips. Just so blessed to be here, to live in the great state of Florida, and to have a governor who is really an inspiration to a lot of people and is doing great things in his, you know, modest role. So I'm proud of him, and want other people to kind of follow what he's doing. You've been given a state in life, do a great job where you are, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah, his wife survived breast cancer, or she just went through her first round of chemo, I think, and she got through it. So praise be to God on that one. And Floz, let's hear it.
For my Saint, I'm actually going to take a group of folks. I'm going to say the 5 SCOTUS justices who stood their ground and made the right decision that should have been done decades ago. And you know, we're praying for them and their families and their safety, and to continue this good fight to save as many babies as possible. So kudos to them. And since I have a group as my virtue, I'm going to add a corporation and a group as my cry room. I'm going to put Planned Parenthood in there because
I said it in that regard as well. So it's a huge week, guys, and going forward, the idea of strengthening resolve and making sure that you are a good place spiritually, physically, and all those other things that you need to tie down. And so, yeah, it's definitely something that we need to be aware of. And it's a glorious week. I love it. I didn't get a chance to say it in my 7 times getting knocked off here, but I'm ready for this fight. I said it on Tuesday. I'm ready for the fight. I'm
We can
ready.
throw behind you.
Yeah. Yes. As you can tell, because they're so real. And but by the way, they're all like muskets, so it doesn't really help. I'm not Mel Gibson from The Patriot. It's gonna take me 17 minutes to load one of those things. But I'm ready to confront these people in the street. I'm ready to have this argument. I'm ready to have this fight. Too many people are still afraid to talk about the abortion issue because they don't want to offend sensibilities. Guess what? The other side's ready to do everything they can to keep it. You need to meet it. You need to be ready for it, and you need to operate from the place of good, true, and beautiful. Because if you're defending life, you are not wrong. If you are defending the lives of unborn babies, you are not wrong. There are plenty of networks out there. If they try to give you the adoption thing or whatever, don't let them push you. There are plenty of crisis pregnancy centers. There's adoption agencies that are ready to step up as well in a post-Roe world. Let's not be afraid to win. And I think too many of us are afraid to win because we're not used to it. But let's give glory to God on this one for this gift, and give glory to God for us being here, for being the ones selected to be here. You and I and Flaz and Steve and John and Ryan, we're all here. Let's be good soldiers in the church militant, and let's go fight the good fight on this one. So unless anybody has anything else they want to say on this or anything else they want to add, I'm going to wrap this up because I obviously have been here the longest. So I want to thank John and Steve and Fwaz and Not My Cable Company. This has been News from the Pew. Please like, subscribe, and share if you want to spread the message and have more people follow us. And we'll talk to you next week. And Viva Cristo Rey.
Jane Roe's story was a terrible one. She said she had been gang raped, gotten pregnant, was desperate to get an abortion. That's what everyone believed as long as Jane Roe remained anonymous. When she went public, she told a different story.
You were raped while you were in Georgia?
No, I wasn't.
You were not?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, so all those stories that are in the books and so forth are not true?
Yes, sir. Yes.
They're not true.
Right.
And it turned out that lying wasn't the only embarrassment this darling of the pro-choice forces presented. In her personal treatise published last year, Norma McCorvey told the story of her somewhat sordid life. Then she still adamantly supported abortion. Now she adds that to the list of sins she took with her into the baptismal pool.
I've cheated people out of money. I've sold drugs. I was an abusive alcoholic for many, many years. I've done a lot against his teachings. But I think the far greater sin that I did was to be the plaintiff in Roe versus Wade.